The John Ford Podcast.
If you can't convince them, confuse them. JohnFord.radio.
Well, here we are again. It's the John Ford Podcast, The Evening Ranker with John Ford. And we're going to talk about things that we can't talk about today. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, that means there are so many things that we can't talk about. You know? It's like we've gone backwards with free speech in the United States and around the world. What got me thinking about this was I was reading an article on Reason magazine about how, well, of course, they have hate speech laws there. Now, in this country, we don't have hate speech laws. We have freedom of speech. We have the First Amendment, which protects the government from, telling you what you can and can't say. But, underneath that, we also have this concept of free speech, that people have free speech. Those are two separate things, First Amendment and free speech. Free speech is a God-given, inalienable right. But in Great Britain, they have hate speech laws, and they have these new laws. There's in South Yorkshire. There's they recently put out a Twitter. I was reading in Reason magazine that even if you don't say something that's hate speech, if it's offensive, you can report it to the police. I think the tweet said something like, if it's a non-crime thing that offends you, that might be hateful, right? Even if it's not a crime, still report it to the police. And this may sound like it's being overblown, but it's not. Last year, 3,300 people were detained and questioned for things they said online in Great Britain for offenses of offensive speech. I mean, you can get, like the thing with, was it Boris Johnson over there, where he said that if you wear a burqa, you look like you're a mailbox or you're going to rob a bank. And, of course, it's caused a big kerfluffle. How did we get to this point? I was watching Blazing Saddles the other day. I just happened to come across and wow, watch this. That movie could not get made today. There's no way Mel Brooks could make that movie today. Beside the fact that it has tons of offensive. I mean, the entire thing is offensive. It's supposed to be offensive. And we've reached the point where comedians aren't even funny anymore because they don't go to college campuses because they're afraid of what's going to happen there. They're afraid of what they're going to say, or there's going to be this tweet storm come down upon them, right? That is just going to lambaste them, and then they'll end up apologizing. What's the last thing a comedian should ever do about a joke is apologize for it, for God's sakes. Comedians and journalists are the canaries in the coal mine of free speech. Once you start telling them what they can and can't say, man, you've crossed over into a very, very scary place. George Carlin is not rolling over in his grave. He's flipping around, man. He's going so fast, he looks like the Tasmanian devil, right? He's just spinning around in his grave there. Lenny Bruce? I don't even want to talk about him, man. You got to wonder what guys like Carlin and Lenny Bruce would say about today. And the political correctness stuff was starting with George Carlin before he passed away. It used to be that the danger of speech, of the Orwellian concept of what you can and can't say, came from the right. It doesn't come from the right anymore. It comes from the left, with them shouting people down on campuses when they don't agree with their speech, not allowing people to speak in front of college campuses because a minority of people find their speech hurtful and offensive. Well, so what? Isn't that why you're in college? To hear different opinions and different thoughts? It's just absolutely insane. It's just one of these things that just drives me. I froth at the mouth. I look like a rabid freaking dog. And it appears to me that it's just going to get worse.
Oh yeah.
Since we're talking about and since we're talking about things that are unsaid or can't be said, and here's something I'm afraid to talk about even now because this will eventually get posted on YouTube. I had my YouTube account deleted, permanently terminated. Luckily, I had two of them, but I had, one account terminated. There was no warning. There was no offensive language. I didn't say anything mean. I mean, basically what it was like Pro Tools, like, because I do voiceovers for a living. So it was like some of my voiceover stuff, and it was like Pro Tools lessons on how to use Pro Tools for voiceover, all kind of really nondescript stuff. So, but they sent me an email from Google, from Don't Be Evil Google, who is starting to look very evil. And I'm afraid to even talk about this because they'll probably delete my other YouTube account. But they sent me this email, and it said your account's been terminated for gross negligence or whatever the hell it was. I'm like, what is this? So, I do some looking around, and you can write them back and have them review it. But the thing is they don't even tell you what you're being terminated for. There was never any, they never sent me any warnings beforehand. They just terminated it. And all they do is send you to a link to a website that lists like this, 4 pages of things you possibly could have done wrong. They don't tell you what you did wrong, even if you did. And it might have just been somebody reported you saying, this person doesn't shower and shave properly.
You got to be kidding me.
Or whatever, right? So I sent him an email, and I was like, look, I don't know what to write you because I don't know what I did. Whatever it is I did, tell me what I did. I'll fix it. I'll never do it again. Cross my heart, hope to die, eat a porcupine pudding pie, bow to the almighty Google and YouTube, and, God bless you. And then they wrote me back about a day later and said, oh, sorry, terminated. And then all they did was list the link of the 4 pages of things I could have possibly done. So they terminate you. Hey, look, I get it. It's their business. They can do whatever the hell they want. But is that really right? That they can just terminate you for essentially no reason? I mean, it could have just been, somebody didn't like something I said on there that worked at Google. I don't know.
Is that correct?
And they just terminate your account? Shouldn't they have to tell you what you did wrong? Wouldn't you think that would be like the American thing to do?
No.
Give me a break.
You would think. And, and I was so upset for like 5 minutes. And it was like, the hell with it. I'll post on Vimeo. And I ended up the thing that really got to me, though, was, because like I watch documentaries and stuff on YouTube and people, cat videos, whatever. So, it for better or for worse, it learns from what you watch, right? So it knew that I like to watch, one of the things I like to watch is like bad UFO documentaries, so it would constantly populate bad UFO documentaries.
You're a loony.
And so all that was gone. I lost my entire history. So when I went to my other YouTube account, of course, all that it pulls up is cat videos, which, is not exactly what I want to watch. And it's just another example of, I don't know if that's a free speech issue, but that's just, it's just something that happened to me. But, I think about Archie Bunker, All in the Family. You couldn't make that show today. Hell, you couldn't even make the Jeffersons today. Not that long ago, we used to have shows that were called Politically Incorrect. Yeah, it was like a badge of honor to be politically incorrect. It was a badge of honor to go against the system.
God, that is so not true.
Yeah. But now, forget it, man. You do something that somebody doesn't like, and you're a neo-Nazi, right-wing, lunatic, John Birch Society, pinko pansy bedwetter. And they're out to get you. And the tweet storm comes down. I mean, you can even look at what's going on with this Supreme Court thing. Both sides are going at it. Who knows what the hell the truth is? And nobody can just come out and say, it's this. And my opinion on the Supreme Court thing is, hey, look, whether he did what, the woman says he did or not, this is all just about getting past the November elections before Kavanaugh can be made the Supreme Court justice. But the thing that blows my mind is, haven't the Democrats thought about this? So if they block Kavanaugh from getting in, and then they gain the majority, and then they can keep him out, Trump still has 2 more years to pick a Supreme Court justice. He could make really crazy right-wing picks and just keep throwing them at him, Eventually, one of them is going to get through. So, This guy seems pretty moderate.
He's an idiot.
Right? For the most part. I mean, he's kind of conservative, but he seems fairly moderate for a conservative.
No.
You don't know what Trump would throw them next.
Yes.
But that's everybody knows that's really what's going on. Whether he did this thing when he was in high school or not, God, I hope we don't all get judged for things we did in high school. Whether he did this thing in high school or not, everybody knows. Republican, Democrat, plutocrat, communist, Green Party, World Party, whatever, man. Everybody knows it's all about getting past the November elections, which can't come soon enough. Until then, keep your lips buttoned. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you tweet. Be careful what you eat. And for God's sakes, don't use any plastic straws, because if you do, you're a fascist.
It's time to say so long. Sorry to say that it's time to go. Remember this spot on your radio. There'll be more entertainment for you that you'll find so enjoyable too. So tune in on Monday, because that is when that man
John Ford
will be here.